So here's a fun film you guys have been asking me to do for a while, The 13th Warrior. Adapted from a Michael Crichton book called Eaters of the Dead, it's an action-adventure film about Vikings to the 10th century. Now, as far as history is concerned, only the first 10 minutes of the movie are inspired by real events. But if you're just as nuts about Vikings as I am, then hopefully this should interest you. So the main character in the movie, played by Antonio Banderas, was the real-life historical figure Ahmed ibn Fadlan. He was an Arab chronicler and emissary from Baghdad who was part of an expedition travelling to Western Russia. In 922 AD, he recorded meeting strange and exotic men who were remembered by history as the Rus, Swedish Vikings who had settled in the region, whose impact was so profound that the country of Russia was named after them. He describes the Rus as having perfect physiques, that they were as tall as date palm trees, with blonde and reddish hair. From head to toe they were covered in dark green and blue tattoos, and that every man was armed with an axe, a sword and a dagger. These physical attributes clearly impressed Ibn Fadlan, but there were also things about the Vikings that repulsed him. Most notably was their hygiene, which he wrote about in vivid detail. He washes his hands and his face and his hair in the water. Then he dips his comb in the water and brushes his hair, blows his nose and spits in the basin. There is no filthy impurity which he will not do in this water. When he no longer requires it, the slave girl takes the basin to the man beside him, and he goes through the same routine as his friend. Ibn Fadlan also recorded that these people were traders and possessed valuable goods. The skins and furs that were abundant in northern Europe fetched a good price on a cold desert night back home. But aside from describing the Vikings as traders, there's one other thing he recorded about them that really stands out. A chieftain of theirs had recently died, and Ibn Fadlan would witness a 10-day-long Viking funeral. Now, we do see this in the movie, except it's very brief, but this is pretty much how it went down. Slave girls of the dead chieftain were told to step forward, and they were asked who amongst you will die with him and become his wife in Valhalla. One of the girls volunteered, and throughout the funeral procession, she was cared for and catered for. She was kept in a constant state of intoxication and performed in ritual sex with each of the chieftain's followers.
What are they doing?
She is having sex with the men who live in there. Each one of them says to her, "Tell your master I did this out of love for him." Because she will soon be reunited with her master in death, and she will be able to speak to him.
The dead chieftain's body was placed aboard a longship on shore, and a priestess called the Angel of Death stood over him, and prayers were chanted.
Ecce patrem video.
Lo, there do I see my father.
Ecce matrem esoro.
Lo, there do I see my mother, my sisters, and my brothers.
Ad initium ecce.
Lo, there do I see the line of my people back to the beginning.
Sedens ibi in sede beato.
Lo, they do call
in
to me.
Valhalla.
They bid me take my place among them in the halls of Valhalla, where the brave may live forever.
The female slave was brought before the Angel of Death, and a rope was placed around her neck. As the men strangled her, the Angel of Death unsheathed her dagger and stabbed the slave repeatedly until she died. Then the slave's corpse was laid beside the chief, along with his worldly possessions, and the longship was set ablaze, the final stage of the Viking funeral. So that's it for all the real history the movie draws inspiration from. The rest of it is a reimagining of the Anglo-Saxon epic Beowulf. The next day after the funeral, a young messenger arrives at the camp, who says that his father's kingdom is under attack from an ancient evil who we later find out are called the Wendel. Those of you who are familiar with the poem Beowulf will easily spot the obvious symbolism between the Wendel and Grendel. In any case, the Angel of Death is called upon for her guidance, and she announces that 13 warriors will fight this evil, but the 13th cannot be a Viking, which means that Ahmed ibn Fadlan must become the 13th warrior and join this noble quest. Obviously, this never happened, but to avoid spoilers, I won't go any further. Just take it from me that if you're looking for a fun action-adventure film about Vikings, then this is the flick for you. Although it's not a real history film, I can understand why so many of you have been asking me to cover it. And with that, thanks for watching History Buffs, and I'll see you again next time.